Good morning, everyone. Thank you. It's great to see so many of you in the room and great to see so many ladies in the room. Usually when I'm invited to forums talking about infrastructure, I see more men, right? It's great to be here today. My name is Jennifer. I'm a partner with PwC Singapore. Now, PwC Singapore, and to a lot of people, PwC might just sound like an accounting firm, but I'm not an accountant. What I do on a day-to-day basis is to advise government, private sector, investors who are investing in infrastructure-related projects. So it can be anything relating to smart city development, or it can be anything relating to your roads, bridges, ports, mobility, right? I have with me a very distinguished panel today. To my left, I have Aisha. Aisha is the Minister for Transport and Aviation for Maldives. And I have Miyuki. Miyuki is from Cisco, and she's the head of Asia Pacific and Greater China. And I have Julian from Jagash. And Julian's from Jagash is the Managing Director for Jagash Singapore. And I have Vincent. Vincent's from Nissan. And Nissan, we know, has got a lot of diversity program, which Vincent's going to talk more about. Now, how I'm going to run this panel, I'm going to allow my panelists to do a bit of introduction about themselves. And I will start posing them the first question as well. Then I'm going to open up to the floor. I hope the floor will have very challenging questions for my panel. Right? Okay, let me start with Aisha. Aisha, you are the government representative on this panel here. In the era of rapid urbanization and technological changes, how do we build infrastructure while enhancing access, convenience, efficiency for all users? And what do you think is the role of industry and government in ensuring these objectives are achieved?
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to wish a very good morning to everyone who is here today to push forward the initiative that it was so important. Let me introduce myself again. I'm a politician, plus, as she said, I'm a minister. And proudly, I want to tell all of you, I'm a mother of 6. That is also under 12, really. Anyway, I have to face them every day. Yeah, I can understand. When I hold this mic every time, with every forum, every media podium, I get really nervous. Please bear with me. Women's Forum is definitely one of the pillars that in ensuring that our voices are heard, loud and clear, I must add. It's a pleasure to be among a very talented group of women who are pioneers of their respective industries. I must say it's an honor to be addressing such a diverse audience. It's been a learning curve for me ever since I have assumed the post of the Minister for the Transportation sector. So far, it's been a journey with obstacles on all fronts of Maldives had lacked the presence of designation the Ministry for Transport and Civil Aviation for a number of years. Representation on a global level in the international community has been minimal for this sector, and hope to address issues at hand highlighted the importance of coming together as one, showcase the global initiatives in moving forward. As the person responsible for the facilitation and implementation of the government policies on transport and civil aviation, one of the difficulties that we encounter is efficient connectivity. The connectivity of transport infrastructure, resources, and technology. Right now, the infrastructural changes in the transportation links are established under spatial planning initiative that identifies growth centers to ensure a wholesome solution that would cater to daily needs of the community, enhance their standard of living. Moving to the topic at hand, infrastructure and mobility with the inclusion of communication links and technology vital to the urban development of every community. Infrastructure important. New infrastructure development is also essential if we are to meet the food, water, and energy needs of growing global population and deliver to the sustainable development goals. In my view, it comes down to simplify things. Mega projects and grand master plans don't serve the purpose of easing common difficulties related to mobility unless it minimizes the cost to maintain and sustain the additions in the long run. When I was assigned and tasked with the duties of carrying this portfolio, there are major issues linked to the public interest terms in safety, financial burdens, and ease of mobility to go about one's daily life. One issue that had always long stood the years of transportation sector was the growing infrastructure sector was growing frustration amongst the public in regards to the taxi drivers' demands in relation to the pricing standards. For a very long time, given the size of the capital, Male taxi prices had a fixed rate for fares. Now, before I go into more detail, it's vital to highlight that taxi services in the Maldives are almost 100% male dominant. It's almost since there is only one female taxi driver till date that's actively in service. So we were upcoming against a mammoth task. I remember it was 9 months ago when taxi prices were revised with the addition of new bridge road leading to the another spot. Most taxi drivers demanded to share their concerns in an unorthodox, difficult manner, I must say. To say this story, it's difficult for me. I had to face a lot. It was turning point in how issues regarding the drivers were handled. I did have a meeting. They were angry, frustrated, and I believe some untasteful things were said. But we got through them by listening, hearing out their concerns, giving them much needed face, time to express their views. It sent a strong message that day we began dialogue with their associations with functions like union, a dialogue which has not been there for several years. My ultimate point of all is not just that women are better listeners, but they are better negotiators too. No, all in seriousness, the takeaway for the event for me was face things head on to get the root of the issues against all odds and have a human-to-human, a heart-to-heart conversation regardless of the gender. That's where the shackles are broken and when the glass ceiling breaks too. To highlight another instance when the previously mentioned new bridge was commissioned and opened for the public, had no clear guidelines on safety measures that needed to be enforced. One would be surprised that we were facing certain amount of backlash because we wanted to enforce strict safety regulations that are observed globally. The decision was promoted by increasing number of dangerous accidents on the bridge and highway linking to the airport island to the capital, Super. And I proudly say that my team was led by women both in the ministry and the committees that were formed to oversee these issues. Now with that detail, I shouldn't shy away to distort the truth, but the fact this portfolio was carried in previous governments at different capacities by different men. By no means I'm saying that men are incapable of meaningful change, but I'm emphasizing that the given equal opportunity, women will also rise and take charge and see it off to the end. What we need amongst us women are unity, interest in each other's capabilities, and backing up each other when there are hurdles. Behind every successful woman, there need not be a man. There can be a woman too. Developing large transport corridors, for example, increasingly seen as a way to stimulate regional integration and economic growth, but the fundamental element of success lies in inclusive, gender-balanced workforce at the forefront. While infrastructure can contribute significantly to socio-economic development, poor choices on design and location of assets with lifespans of 50 to 100 can lock in unsustainability for decades. This is why the need for joint effort with equal representation is one which I will always believe in the fight for this seat at the table on par.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Aisha. And you know, being a politician, being a government and policy maker, I'm sure you have to look at a lot of complex issues when it comes to connectivity, when it comes to inclusion, and the regulation that is required to string everything together. So well done, Aisha. I'm going to move on to Miyuki. And Miyuki, so smart city is a big agenda on the minds of global government, right? In Asia, that's true as well. But we have to build smart city with end users in mind. Can you share with us how Cisco is playing a role in that, and how do you address some of the concerns that people might have around data security, privacy in smart city?
Sure, thank you, Jen. So my name's Miyuki Suzuki. I lead Cisco, Asia Pacific, Japan, and China. And for those of you that may not know what Cisco does, our company was set up 35 years ago. And we started life providing routers and switches, which is the core of providing networking. So we are present even now in about 80% of the worldwide internet. But from those beginnings, we have evolved into a company that provides not just networking infrastructure, but data center, cloud computing, and storage infrastructure, collaboration tools, for people to have video conferencing, IP telephony, and other communication tools. And finally, cybersecurity. That's really very, very important in terms of this very connected world. It's wonderful that things and people are connected at even faster rates, but that increases the attack surface for cybersecurity hackers. So security needs to be top of mind and has to be really kind of created across all of the infrastructure, IT infrastructure available. Increasingly, we're moving towards supporting applications that change the lives of our customers, government, society. And that's why today's session, which is about connecting Asia, is so apropos to what we do every day in our work. Now, coming to Asia Pacific, Japan, and China, this is a region that is rife with opportunity for smart cities and really creative, innovative solutions that better the lives of our citizens and improve productivity, creativity, and innovation, and fairness for all the citizens of the region. I think, we're a very densely populated region, have some of the most populous countries like China, India, and Indonesia in the world. 7 of the world's top 10 megacities, and by megacities, I mean cities with more than 10 million in population, are located in the region, starting with my hometown of Tokyo, followed by Delhi, Shanghai. So there's, huge opportunities to improve the logistics and the experience of living in the cities. And urbanization is a great thing for creating opportunities and driving innovation, but it creates significant challenges, not least in the area of transportation, but providing easy access to good quality healthcare, good quality air, which is kind of top of mind at the moment for all of us here, and education, resources like energy, lighting, clean water, and so on. Just thinking about the future, India, for instance, is going to add another, it's estimated, another 400 million people in terms of population by the year 2050. Just imagine, that's like creating a Singapore every 6 months. And most of these people are going to be concentrated in urban areas. So we really need to look very, very quickly at solutions that can be driven by IT to provide, good, clean, safe living environments for these urbanized populations. And so smart cities is top of mind for many leaders and governments working together with private sector, also public sector, NGO, etc. And to make smart cities successful, you need to have really visionary leaders. So it's not just about the technology, but people that can actually show the way in terms of what benefits it provides to citizens and how these benefits can be shared equally to drive prosperity, drive fairness, drive inclusion and participation in society. IT, obviously, with things like artificial intelligence, which was mentioned earlier, connectivity, mobility, applications that you can access to get government services, and intelligent monitoring and enablement, such as traffic flows to avoid congestion, making sure that there's always clean water, that the network's sewage system is working, logistics is So logistics is performing properly and so on. These are very important things that can be driven. Access to how you fund that and how you allow your citizens to consume smart cities is also another key concern, because these are big infrastructure projects that take place, and need to be kind of monetized over many, many years. So access to creative capital funding, ownership is also very, very important. Let me finally just give an example of where we participated in smart cities. Cisco is involved in building at least 30 smart cities in the region. And in my country, in Kyoto, we've just developed a smart city proposition, which prioritized initially tourism. I mean, Kyoto is a major tourist destination, 80 million to 100 million visitors a year, but they all congregate to the same spots. So we need to try and disperse them to show them what else is available, to provide them with easy access to transportation, and give them information that's required. And then following on from that, smart lighting, smart parking, smart security, so that everyone can live and travel safely. These are all very, very important aspects of what we do with IT. So IT can enable a lot of this smart city experiences, but at the end of the day, it's about the vision, it's about caring, it's about using the information wisely and securely, because citizens don't want a big brother society to live in, but they want convenience and they want swift, prompt actions regarding their needs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Miki. Tokyo is one of my favorite cities, and I'm in Tokyo every year as a tourist. So I'm looking forward to all the smart solutions that you are putting together. And Miyuki is very right? IT can provide the solution, but the leadership behind it, the vision to drive those innovation forward, is very important. Next, I have Julian. And Julian has been in the construction and builders industry for the longest time, and I'm sure he's got a lot of experience to share with us how that has changed over the years.
Thank you, Jennifer. For me, important point is innovation, and you may say, when you look at cranes and concrete structure, is it really the best playground to talk about innovation? And I wanted to share with you 3 main innovations in this infrastructure business. The first one is modular construction, and Singapore is probably at the upfront of this one. Today, we are building hotels, offices, student accommodations, condominiums off-site. When I say building off-site, we are really doing everything off-site. We are putting the carpet, we are putting the air conditioning, the shower glass, the kitchen cabinet, everything off-site, deliver then to the site and build an entire tower. Dragage Singapore and Bouygues is having the world record for this kind of construction. In Singapore, we have just completed a 40-story high tower, Clement Canopy, using this modular construction. Very innovative, and it brings a lot of added value to the community. First, it's obviously providing better quality product because you do it off-site, so you can better control. It is much safer to build because you are in a very safe control environment. And when it comes to the neighborhood of the sites, there is much less noise, much less disturbance, much less transport to build this kind of projects. And obviously, this is faster. We have completed a hotel at the airport, Changi Airport, and it took us only 1 month to install 200 hotel rooms on this project, Crown Plaza. So that's one of the first really game changer for the infrastructure building industry coming up, modular construction. Second one is digitalization, IT for sure. And I will just want to share one example when it's come to community. We are all aiming to buy a flat to live with our kids and family. And now we can really build digitally, virtually, before building it physically. So what we can offer to the clients, to the people who wanted to become a homeowner, is entering into a virtual flat, really walking through it, selecting material, selecting the finishes, the color of the kitchen cabinet and so on, and then securing all that digitally, and then we are there to build it physically as fast as possible for the owners. The last is probably one of the main changes in the infrastructure industry, building industry, is related to energy. I do believe there will be a merge between what is building industry, construction industry, and what is today the energy industry. Buildings are becoming energy provider component. We are building here for the Building Construction Authorities of Singapore, zero energy building. Means the building is not consuming any power from outside. In Europe, where you are using a bit less of aircon, de facto, you can get positive energy building. It means that buildings are providing more energy to the grid than they are consuming. So if you get this connected with IT solutions and connected with storage solution and connected to mobile car, electrical cars, you can get your building which really become part of an entire network, power network, storage network, which will change the way we live in cities. All these innovations are not about money. For me, innovations, and it will be the takeaway, are about people. And to innovate, you need the good people. And what is the good people are diverse people. I do believe that the best company are the company who can bring together the more diverse pool of talents to really be able to open new ways and innovate. Thank you.
Thank you, Julien. And indeed, I think the building of the future will be buildings that generate energy. And one good example I saw yesterday was a warehouse that harnessed the energy of the cranes that's moving boxes into the energy that is required to move the cranes. So this is a very, very important step for a lot of people in our industry. Next, I have Vincent with us. And Vincent is probably in one industry that is so massively disrupted by technology, but at the same time, it's an industry that gives you the opportunity to innovate. And would you like to share with us next how that's happening in Nissan and how some of Nissan's program, like Intelligent Mobility Program, is going to be impacting us?
Yeah, sure. Does it work? Yes, it works. So good morning, everybody. By the way, this is the second time that I'm here. I was here also last year, and it feels much less scary. You get used to it. And I'm happy that Julien is here next to me. But I'm really happy to be here. And as Nissan, we believe this is very important. We took quite a lot of our young talent here to join us and experience this and network with people of other companies. So, okay, back to the question. Yeah, the car industry is changing and has to change. Maybe we didn't change quick enough. Maybe that's another way of looking at it, because we have been quite backward in some ways, but now we have to change. What is driving that change? I think that's important. The way we use cars is changing as we speak, and will change even more. People want to drive in a smart way, in a safe way, and definitely also in a sustainable way. So that means that the industry will have to change. The key drivers are environment, to start with. Urbanization was just mentioned by Yuki. The key issue is that the cities here in Asia, as we heard, are the biggest in the world, and they're growing. The projection is that in Southeast Asia, the mega cities will actually, I think 75% of the population by 2030 will be living in mega cities or urbanized areas, and that puts huge pressure on many things. Noise, air pollution, but also congestion. The time that I spend in a car when I go to Manila or in Bangkok, for that matter, is quite long. So, accepting that, or that will happen, we need to find solutions to drive this. The second key change is that consumers are changing. What does that mean? At the moment, in 2020, 40% of our buyers will be millennials. Mm. These people want to be connected. They want to have a much better work-life balance than maybe the previous generations. And therefore, our products need to address this as well. You need to be connected in your car, but you also need to be able to spend your time wisely or effectively when you are in the vehicle. For instance, autonomous drive solutions for the future will help in that sense. The other thing is that women are more and more the buyers and drivers of vehicles, especially in our region. And if you know that 85% of the buying decisions of vehicles are basically influenced by females, yeah, we cannot ignore it, but we have done that for a long time. We've been a male-dominated industry. I think that's changing very quickly, and it has to change, because our own workforce needs to start representing the consumer of today and tomorrow. And that's not just gender diversity, that's also cultural diversity, as well as age. Age is key. Because the biggest change actually after gender is age. The younger public, as I said before, millennials, but also the generation after that, are going to be really, really demanding different things from mobility than today. What is our solution for Nissan? Technology-wise, you mentioned Nissan Intelligent Mobility. That's our vision for the future. What it means is to bring technologies that make driving and living with vehicles better, basically. So it's not technology for the sake of technology, but really helping people to get the maximum out of the car and bring it to as many people as possible. So democratization of technology is crucial. It's not just for the happy few. So when you have, for instance, we have very nice round view cameras where you can see the car from the top. It was only available on luxury cars. We bring it to every single vehicle in the range because we believe it should be accessible to everybody that drives cars. So key is accessibility of that technology. From a drivetrain point of view, and that comes back to environment, we strongly believe that electrification is the future. So future drivetrains will be electrified drivetrains. And we are still the #1 selling company in terms of EVs with Nissan Leaf. We have a lot of experience, but what we see now is that all of the other manufacturers are very quickly following, which is good news, because that puts pressure on infrastructure. And infrastructure is the one piece that is necessary to really move in that space. Now, Julian just mentioned buildings, and it's very good to hear that, because connectivity, or connecting to society, is not just through websites or whatever. It's also connecting, in our case, the car to, for instance, the energy grid. So our vehicle can today be connected to buildings, to your own home, and can basically power your fridge, your lighting, your television for 3 days on a full battery. So you can imagine that the cars plays a totally different role in the future. It's no longer just a means of transportation. It's going to be something that will help you to enrich your life, and at the same time also tackle some of the key issues that we face in these ever-growing urban environments. Coming quickly back to the other point, from an organizational point of view, we need to drive diversity because it's the only way to be successful and to innovate. And diversity, as I said, is not just gender. In our office in Bangkok today, we've expanded that office quite a lot in the last 2 years. 65% are female, and we have 16 nationalities. So really, really diverse. But that diversity is not the only solution. You also need to have a company culture that really promotes the working culture. The way we work needs to be really harnessing that diversity. And in that sense, we're a little bit lucky. When we, in 2000, formed an alliance with Renault, we implemented something that we call cross-functional teams. And cross-functional teams and even cross-company teams basically put together people from different disciplines and different really diverse teams to either solve problems or to create new programs and services. And that has really been harnessed within our organization. So if you then have a diverse team, then you can really get the maximum out of it, and then you can really innovate and bring relevant products and services to the market.
Thank you. Thank you, Vincent. Very interesting. And I certainly make the decision on the cars that I buy at home. I make the decision on cars at home, not my husband. So you got the right target audience. I'm going to open up to the audience, and I'm sure you have some burning question that you might want to ask my panelists. We have about maybe the next 5 to 7 minutes for that. Anyone from the floor? We have a lady here.
A microphone.
Thank you. Joanne Flynn. I'm very interested from across the panel, given that the bigger topic of this conference is also about climate change and the things that we're seeing. If we have 5 years to make a significant difference, which is the science and the strongest facts, what are the super concrete changes your businesses can lead and make the change in the world to actually have a more sustainable physical future around us? not the theory, the really practical, our organizations are showing up to do this.
Sure. Thank you very much. And I think sustainability is definitely something that all our organizations are looking to. Maybe Julian, you have some good examples in that?
Yeah, I think buildings is one of the main contributors to CO2 emission and a contributor to climate change. So one of the main things we should all be doing is really looking at buildings and how we can make buildings consume less or consume nothing. So I think in our industry and certainly in our company, this is something we look at it very carefully. And there are now very concrete examples of buildings being zero energy. And if you apply this to every single accommodation in the world, this will solve a big part of the issue.
Yeah, for us it's, I think, obvious. I can, as an industry, I can only speak for Nissan, but in our view, the only solution is to go as quickly as possible to electric powertrains. And I know you still have to build the car, and that's still going to, there's still emission then. But overall, in the long term, first of all, we're running out of natural resource, so it is in the future the only solution. Maybe that electric powertrain will be fueled by fuel cell technology or other types of technology. But the whole point is that we need to move that as quick as possible. The big benefits of electric powertrains are twofold. One is it's much easier to move to things like autonomous drive, because an electric motor is much easier to operate from a technology point of view in terms of letting the car do its own thing than conventional engines. And the second point, as I mentioned before, is the batteries can be used as storage units for energy. So because an energy plant, as you know, an electrical plant, they produce at a level and they cannot go down. They always have to produce at the same level whether the consumption is there or not. So there's a lot of waste. Now if you can store that energy in batteries, and part of that could be the electric cars that are going to be driving around, then you will automatically save energy. So in my view, it's electrification as quickly as possible. Also for our competitors, by the way. So in that sense, it's.
Thank you, Vincent. Miyuki.
So is this working? So IT is a wonderful enabler of sustainability going forward. I feel very conflicted by what I'm about to say, but because before I joined Cisco, I used to run Jetstar, which is an airline in this part of the world for Japan. But we provide tools that allow collaboration and very high quality communication between people from all over the world in different parts of the world, therefore avoiding the need, if necessary, to travel quite as much as we do. Obviously, face-to-face is important, but collaborating through video conferencing, etc., is a good alternative, increasingly a good alternative to saving energy. Just to give an example, during the London Olympics, which Cisco sponsored, and by the way, we are about to sponsor the Tokyo Olympics, it became impossible to demand that your employees come to work in London because of the congestion, because of the crowding. And therefore, a lot of companies decided to implement policies of working from home. Now, not only is working from home easier on, easing congestion and the likes, but it's also much more friendly for diverse workforces, like mothers or people looking after their parents or the disabled. And it was a wonderful catalyst for remote working to become an accepted part of corporate life. So I think there are many benefits to IT, which, if used creatively, can help with that. Finally, in smart cities, which was my topic to begin with, a lot of the governments are prioritizing smart energy grid lighting. So for instance, instead of having all the lights on at all times, regardless of whether there's any traffic or people using the roads, sensors are implemented in all of the lights so that if there's no one passing, it'll dim down, saving electricity and the like. So there's a number of different ways in which artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, connectivity can really drive a reduction in waste, pollution, climate change, and the like.
Thank you. Aisha?
Thank you. In my sector, in transport sector, our government today is trying to change all our public transports to environmentally friendly vehicles, and we will implement it. We are starting from school buses, and I believe next year from January we will have school buses, electric buses, not petrol. It's, I mean the other buses, environmentally friendly vehicle we are enforcing, and we want to all of our system to change it. And also we are giving import free to any vehicles that are environment friendly. In future, we are trying to give parking slots and other facilities for those vehicles they bring if it is environment friendly. So we are encouraging people, we are supporting to our people to change this. Thank you.
Thank you. So from PwC's perspective, I think one of the bigger role that I play is in government advisory. And when government used to procure infrastructure, they are very focused on the hard infrastructure. And when we look at financial viability, we look at how those projects can be financed by the banks. I think going on more and more, we are encouraging our government clients to look beyond the traditional financial viability of projects. We need to look at the environmental sustainability and how that would impact financial viability as well and bankability as well. Because a lot of these projects, when they go to international banks for financing, international banks are increasingly requiring these projects to be environmentally sustainable before they can be financed. So in our small way, big way, we're influencing how projects come to completion and making sure that the environmentally sustainable projects are the ones that are getting financed and getting to financial close. Thank you. Well, we have a very exciting morning of discussion, and I thank the panelists. But before we go off, I really want to bring us back to the big topic of the forum today, which is taking the lead for inclusion and accelerating through diversity. So can I invite each of my panelists to just say, tell us a few words of your thoughts and some takeaways you have in terms of this topic. I'm going to start from this way.
Yeah, as I said before, I think it's up to everybody in the room and to us. And if you're a manager or a leader or whatever, it starts with us. If you don't make the decisions and if you don't understand how important diversity is or inclusion, then I think you're going to lose out in the end. It's all about, it's a business. It is a business decision. It's not a whether you like it or not. Of course, I'm in favor of diversity and inclusion, but it's also a business decision. And I can only recommend that if there is any bias, just put it away, because it's totally unnecessary and it doesn't help.
For me, the challenges in front of us are huge, and they will be solved through innovation. And innovation can only be done if we are all working together and being very diverse. So that's not a question, that's a must. We need to be together.
So there are countless studies out there that prove that solutions to problems are more innovative and long-reaching if they're arrived at by diverse groups of people, not just gender, but background, experience, and way of thinking. So I think it's, to Vincent's point, it's a good business decision to do that. I work for a technology company. I'm lucky that we have the technology tools to allow all sorts of people to participate in the workforce. But it's not just about technology. A lot of it is about processes, HR processes, for instance, so that things can be done digitally and virtually, but also culture. And culture is perhaps the most important, because we've all got to trust each other, and trust each other in terms of knowing that they'll have your back, knowing that they'll deliver what you've promised, both the staff and the manager. So I think if you have the environment, then diversity can really flourish. Thank you.
I would like to briefly sum up and say that for us to focus on sustainable development, we need to emphasize on the importance of our surroundings. That is when we are able to fully take the advantage of what's available to us, whether it's naturally or technically. One of our biggest factors of economic growth and development for a nation rests on the equality and availability of human resources, and in that instance that we have to remember that female representation across all fronts are as important as the male representations. We might make light passes during the panels, but it's also crucial to appreciate the male role models that are paved way for inclusion and gender parity. It is an honor for me to be sitting here sharing my perspective on things, but this would not be possible without the support of the President of the Maldives, His Excellency Ibrahim Mohammed Soli, who has not only given me the task of ensuring that a public office is run under my supervision, and also entrusted 6 other female ministers in his cabinet, making the female representation in the Maldives cabinet is 35%. The real meaningful development, though it goes unrecognized, is the level at which the human capital is recognized. I hope that I have shared something of value to everyone that's present here, and would like to thank the Women's Forum team for giving me the opportunity to be a part of this forum. It's truly an honor. Thank you very much.
I think finally I would like to say that taking leadership is up to everyone sitting in this room, right? It is not anyone just in the boardroom or anyone in the senior position, not anyone here, it's everybody, right? So speak up if you think that inclusion and diversity is not part of your culture. I think it's up to everyone to make it your culture, and up to everyone to make sure that everyone of different diversity, different culture, different gender are included in decision making and discussion. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.